Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Walt's How-Tos and Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Bowflex Adjustable Dumbbells, both the 552s and the 1090s. Feel free to use the timeline and skip ahead if you're looking for just one piece of information. But to get started, if I had to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give them a 9.8. There's a couple drawbacks, but for my personal opinion, the pros make up for that more than enough. First, I'll cover the cons. One of them is they're a bit longer than a traditional dumbbell. If you're trying to do some exercise such as upright row, you can see they slightly get in the way of each other, or just a dumbbell bench press, they can get in the way. Easy workaround as shown is just turn the hands, but for me it's not that big of a deal. It is a con though. The next con I'll talk about is price, and for me it's only a con if you're comparing adjustable dumbbells, as they are a bit more expensive than the competitors. But if you were trying to buy a whole set of dumbbells, this would be a pro. So at the time of this video, to buy the smaller 552, a pair would be $300 or $150 each. To buy the bigger 1090s, a pair would be $600 or $300 each. The next con is if you don't put the dumbbells back in straight, as shown in the video, they can get caught up on each other sometimes and get stuck. It's a pretty easy fix. You just pick it up and kind of tap it on the ground or jolt it, and it tends to loosen up, as you can see in the video. Something I did notice is when you first get the dumbbells, this is a lot more common, and the more you use them, the less likely this happens. It was actually hard for me to get it to do it when I was trying to make this video, whereas when I first got them, they actually got stuck more often, and now they rarely ever get stuck. So I'm not sure if I've just gotten better using the dumbbells, or I think the plastic tends to wear and get a little bit more slippery, where when it's just straight out of the factory, it's a little bit more sticky, and as the friction happens and they rub, it becomes more slippery. The bigger dumbbells, you can see it does happen as well, and sometimes even when you have all the weights on there, as you can see right here, the whole thing gets stuck, but again, super easy fix. I'll talk more about the grips at the end of the video when I'm going over the differences, but since I'm covering the cons, I wanted to mention the 1090 grip is a little bit rough on the hands. It's all metal, it's a bit more blocky and less oval shape, as I highlighted in the picture, and for me it's not a big issue, but I thought I should mention it. It's a bit rough on the hands with the bigger 1090 dumbbell. The last con I'll talk about is both have written on them, "do not drop," which would imply they're not as durable as your typical dumbbell. With that being said, I have used these a lot and I have been really rough with them. I haven't dropped them from 5 foot, but when I do flat bench to exhaustion, I can't hold the weight up and I let them fall to the ground, and I haven't had an issue. I'll keep my fingers crossed, but if you ask me, they're pretty darn durable and I haven't had an issue. Okay, that is all the cons that I could think about when it comes to these dumbbells, and to be honest, it was a bit difficult for me to think of many cons. So now we'll get on to the good stuff. Obviously, they're adjustable dumbbells, and that's going to be a pro. So as you can see here, when you're doing something like a burnout, it's great because you can use as much energy as you can at that weight until you can't do anymore. You put the weight down, you adjust the dials on the side, and bam, you instantly have a new dumbbell in your hand. I would argue this is actually even faster than using regular dumbbells, because 10 different dumbbells is going to take up room and you're going to have to move around to pick them up, versus this dumbbell is just right at your feet. So this is actually my favorite part about these dumbbells and one of the reasons why I absolutely love them. Another pro to these dumbbells is they're just like a traditional dumbbell, except they do have this flat part in there while they're still round. But as you can see, it's nice when you put them down, they don't roll, which I think could prevent injury, but I still like that they are round. So if you're doing certain exercises like this tricep exercise, it just allows you to do a lot of things that you would normally do with a dumbbell. And when I looked into some of the competitors, this was one of my worries, that I wouldn't be able to do some of the exercises I'm used to, as this is one of my favorite exercises. A little side note, that little notch in the top actually gives your head a little bit of track room, which is also pretty nice with this particular exercise. And you can see I put the dumbbell down and it doesn't roll, which is awesome because I think that can prevent potential injuries. Another pro to these dumbbells is this flat circular base at the end. It allows you to rest them on your thigh as shown without too much pain. I will make a side note, my brother actually didn't think it was that comfortable, but for me, I do think it is comfortable. It helps if you're coming out of like a flat bench, you can also reverse it or come back down. And if you go to failure, it's easier sometimes to put them on the ground, but since you're worried about dropping them, you can place them and then lean them over with that flat base as shown in the video. I've used other dumbbells in the past where this isn't an option. It's actually pretty painful to do that, and if you're trying to do heavy weight, it almost makes doing something like a flat bench impossible, or just not able to do it to the best of your ability. Another pro with the adjustable dumbbells is you're able to have a different weight on each side of the dumbbell. It's not something that I've actually used, but it is an advantage as you wouldn't be able to do this with a traditional dumbbell. As I mentioned earlier, you might view the price as a con when you're comparing adjustable dumbbells. However, for me, the price is a pro, because if I tried to buy these individual dumbbells at these different weight increments, it would be an absurd amount of money relative to what I spent on these dumbbells. Another pro is you're essentially fitting either 15 or 17 different dumbbells into one small area, which is another pro. And that transitions into the next topic, which is the difference between these dumbbells. The 1090s are obviously heavier weight, but they also have 2 additional weight settings. So the next 3 differences I wanted to bring up are going to pertain to somebody who's trying to decide which set they would like to buy. Obviously, the first big difference is the heavier dumbbells are double the price, which is a big difference. The next thing is the grip. The 5.52s have a much more comfortable grip. They, at least for me, fit in my hand a lot better, and they're a lot less rough on the hands. The 1090s, it's not a deal breaker, and it's really not that big of a deal for me, but they are a little bit more boxy, and they are a bit rough on the hands. The next thing I would take into consideration when you're deciding if you want to buy these is what exercises are you going to be doing, and compare that with the different increments of weight with each dumbbell, and that might help you decide on which one to buy. I actually bought the 5.52s first, found out that I liked them, started to grow out of them and needed more weight for some exercises, so I bought the 1090s, and I really like having both if that's an option for you. With the 1090s, I do more stuff like shoulder press and bench press, where you're not really moving them around a lot in your hand, and the grip doesn't affect me as much, where if I'm doing curls, I like the smaller dumbbells because the increment settings are closer, where you can go up by 2.5 pounds instead of 5, and it's a much more comfortable grip when you're going to be moving them around in your hand a little bit more. The last difference I'll talk about, obviously with the more weight, the 1090s are a bit bigger. You get an idea of how much wider they are here. The 5.52s are roughly 16 inches, while the 1090s are 17 inches, so only about an inch longer. In conclusion, I would highly recommend these Bowflex dumbbells. I think they're an excellent product, and I'm very satisfied with owning them. I know there's more cost-effective adjustable dumbbells out there, but I would argue these are superior for their build quality, how quickly you can change between the settings, and that they resemble a traditional dumbbell and shouldn't hinder too many exercises that you are used to doing with a dumbbell. That being said, if you would like to see a video on the differences, pros and cons, and a comparison between the Bowflex Power Block and Yes for All, I will absolutely make that video if there's a demand for it. So if you would be interested, just drop a note in the comments and I'll make one. Otherwise, I really appreciate you guys watching, and see you next time.